Hi guys, my name's Richard and I suffer from mental illness. So today's video we're going to talk about persona, Jekyll and Hyde. So I mentioned in my background video, the first video of this series, that I have developed over the years a personality that is pretty much as far removed from the real me as you could probably get. As I said previously, I'm an incredibly shy and nervous, anxious and depressive person. The other me is completely opposite of that. I still have anxiety as the other person, but I try and do my best to try not to show it. I still have sad days as the other person, but you would never know, because I've developed this personality and this coping mechanism over the years to not give anything away. On any given day I could be happy, normal, incredibly sad, but unless I'm going through a really bad time and having breakdowns and crying on a regular basis, you wouldn't know. And that, I think, is part of the problem and one of the other barriers that I've put up to protect me from me. That kind of made sense before I said it. So the real me, as I said, is this, in my opinion, weak person that is vulnerable, that feels guilty and full of shame of who they are, because you've got this illness and it's a sign of weakness or whatever way you view it. Whereas this big personality is a shield for that vulnerable person. That means they won't get hurt, or they don't have to admit that they've got a problem. Now, as I've said before, I can quite easily sit here, look you down in the eye, down the lens of this camera, and say to you, my name's Richard Graham, I suffer from depression and anxiety. It's very easy for me to say that. But it's not so easy is for me to look at why I suffer from those and how I'm going to overcome it. Because it's a little box that I've put it in, and I put it back here. Like every doubt that I've ever had goes in a little box, I can put it here. I distract myself by keeping myself busy, that I don't have to think. I can think, oh yeah, I've got that, or I'm suffering that today, or whatever. Box it up, put it away. I don't have to move on, don't have to think about it. And it wasn't until I started doing the kind of life story videos, as I discussed in the background video, that it kind of dawned on me that I'd been developing this persona, this Jekyll and Hyde situation, from a very early age without me realizing. To give you a little bit of background, growing up, I was from a very loving home, didn't want for anything. My parents worked incredibly hard to give myself and my brother what we wanted. We weren't, don't get me wrong, we weren't rich by any stretch of the imagination, but they worked bloody hard to provide for us. My dad was very much a typical man. You never really knew what mood he was in, or how he was feeling, or whether he was having a good day, bad day, or whatever the case may be. I didn't know, he never said to me, I love you, from what I remember. He never said to me, I'm really proud of you, from what I remember. And that's not knocking him in any way, shape or form, because I knew he did. I knew he loved me, and I knew he was proud of me. at certain points in my life. The only time I knew what mood he was in was when he was angry, either with me, my brother, or he'd had a row with my mum. But him personally, how he was feeling, he could be having a really crap day and you wouldn't know about it, because he was very, very along the line. And that is kind of how I was brought up, not to discuss your feelings, not to show emotion. And I guess that's where this kind of hiding my true self, because I was very nervous as a kid. As I said, I was very shy. And I guess I wanted to suppress that. I mean, it didn't really affect me until I moved to senior school. When I was in infants, primary, junior school, whatever you call it, I was in a very good place. Yes, I was shy, but I was in a very big friendship group. I was very active, played a lot of sport, and went out a lot with my friends. This was back before we had consoles and internet. So I was very much an outdoor person, very much with my mates and girlfriends and whatnot, until I changed to senior school. Now, moving from junior school to senior school in itself is quite epic, because you're the big fish in this very little pond, as the expression goes, and then all of a sudden you're transported into this ocean where you are just a tiddler. What didn't help was most of my friends and the friendship group I was in moved to the local senior school. At the time, it didn't have the greatest reputation. And because I found school relatively easy, not because I was mega intelligent, I just found schoolwork relatively easy, we decided as a family that I would go to a slightly better school, or what was perceived as slightly better school, but it was a distance away. It was a bus journey away. Only 2 other people from my primary school were going to this senior school. Now, they were friends of mine, not best friends, but they were friends of mine, and I knew them very well, and we'd been part of the same group. But that's where I started feeling anxious and nervous and vulnerable, because I was going to this big new school. I didn't know anyone apart from these 2 guys. I didn't make friends very easily because I was so shy. So I was ultra reliant on these 2 guys to get me through that first year, where I could, because as with most schools, you find that pecking order, you find the group of friends. So I was very, very reliant on them, and as kids do, we argued and we fell out, and that was really hard. And I was almost too, not compliant, I was almost, I wouldn't stand up for myself. I wouldn't argue too much, because I was so reliant on these 2 people, because if I didn't have them, I wouldn't have anyone. But as the school years went on, I became less reliant on them. And I turned into something that looking back, I'm not particularly proud of. I was never part of the cool club. I was never, part of the main group at school. I flitted from group to group. And the reason I did that was because I wasn't a particularly nice person. The way I dealt with my shyness and nervousness is I became aggressive. And I hid behind, I would put people down. I didn't care what I said, who I upset, hide my own opinions because I was me. And that rocked a lot of boats, but it was complete opposite to how I was actually feeling. And I didn't particularly enjoy school, senior school at all. They're meant to be the happiest days of your life. Mine definitely wasn't. I hated school. didn't get on particularly with the academic side of things. Again, I did just enough to scrape through. That wasn't too challenging. I could have pushed myself a lot harder, but I did just enough just to get through it. But I got into a lot of trouble, a lot of detentions and various bits and pieces. So yeah, it wasn't the greatest time in my life. But I'd already got a taste for this person, this alter ego, and that continued as I went through my work career and got bigger, and the personality got bigger and further away from this nervous little shy person, to a point not so long ago where, when I was going through a really tough time, I'd had another breakdown and I was really struggling. I forgot who I was, and that was really scary because I couldn't remember who I was. And I couldn't remember why I was projecting this person, and was I really this person? And if that was the case, then how come this alter ego could be weak enough to suffer from depression? Because remember, the alter ego is protecting the weak one. And that kind of brought my world down a little bit and made it even worse, because if this strong, outgoing person could have this issue, then there was no hope. I've kind of got a little bit closer to the real me. The real me I've kind of learned over the last few months is, I think, somewhere in between. I'm not a complete Jekyll and Hyde, but the real me is the one that suffers from depression, anxiety, is nervous and shy. And the stronger, outgoing person won't allow that person to come out, because that strong person is worried that if the weak person comes out and takes over, there'll be no room for the strong person. So it's a constant fight, and it sounds crazy. When you say it out loud, it sounds absolutely crazy that you've got this battle going on between yourself. But that's what it feels like. And that's why it's so tiring, because you're battling all the time with yourself. And that's why I can switch between people instantaneously. As I've said before, when I'm at home in my safe place, because home is my safe place, I'm very quiet. I don't interact. If my wife asks me questions, I grunt. And I often, because if she keeps asking me questions, my wife talks a lot. And sometimes that can just, if I'm not in a particularly good place, because remember, I can't tell her that. I can't tell her that I'm having a bad day. I can't tell her that actually I need to take myself away. So what do? I shout at her. Because that's how I get her to stop. And inside my head, when I am that person, inside my head, I am screaming and screaming. Talk. Be normal. Interact. Why are you holding back? But I can't do anything about it. So if we go from that scenario where we're at home and I'm grunting, nodding, shaking my head or whatever, or pretending to ignore, and we go out to the shops and we meet someone that I know, straight away it's the real Richard Graham comes out, how you doing, blah 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 blah, yeah, and talks and interacts and whatever. And then as soon as that person walks away, back down again. So for my missus, that must be incredibly difficult to see. So why can he be like that with someone else, and yet with me, he's this grumpy, moody, shouty, non-responsive person? That must be incredibly hard. And that's what I meant previously when I said it's like living with dementia. The people living around someone, from my experience, that's got mental health issues, it must be so challenging, frustrating and annoying and hard. But without them, I don't think, well, I certainly wouldn't be here. As hard as that, and as badly as you treat the people around you, if it wasn't for them, yeah, things would be very dark. But that's something that I need to unlock. I need to find that middle ground. As I said previously, it's very black and white, and my personality is exactly like that. There's the weak, shy, mental person on one side, and then there's the other person that's carrying them, that's the outgoing, etc. And you know, that is a major hurdle that I need to overcome. And throughout the treatment so far, the various treatments that I've had, counselling, watching videos, trying to read books, that kind of thing, nothing has unlocked that barrier or that door to allow me to admit to myself deep down that I'm suffering from mental illness. And I need to address it head on. Not to recover, because you, as I said before, you can't recover from mental health problems. You just accept it and learn to live with it. And until I unlock that particular door, I'm never going to get to that point. And I don't know at this moment in time how I'm going to get to that point, how I'm going to unlock that door. I've tried pretty much everything. And that is one of the biggest hurdles I've got to overcome. And that's pretty much it with regard to the kind of split personality type thing. As I say, mentally it's very draining, because you're acting all the time, and that's hard work. Plus living with your good days and your bad days, as well as having anxieties about certain situations. You have to be this person. And you know, the tablets can help, but as I said, it's finding that balance with the tablets. When I first started taking the tablets back in the early days after the breakdown, if you're on the wrong dose, I was hyper all the time, and I had very limited attention span, but I was just like buzzing all the time. That's when I knew it was on too much. So it's finding that balance. And again, that's why mental health is so complicated, because there is no one way to resolve it. There's so many different branches to mental health, and as I said before, even if this two people are suffering from depression, the way they deal with their depression is completely different, which is why I said these videos aren't self-help, they're not tutorials of how to cope with mental health, but hopefully they will just highlight the issues that I'm going through, and then maybe something that you guys can connect with if you're suffering. And also for the guys that are living, if you're living with someone with mental health and they're not letting you in, and they are different around you, and you feel, is it my fault? No, it's not. It's not your fault by any stretch of the imagination. And please don't give up on them, because if they're like me, deep down, they're screaming at themselves that they want to talk to you, they want to be normal, they want to hug you, they want to tell you how much they love you, they want to just open up to you, because you've been that person that supported them every step of the way. And without you, potentially, the other options could be disastrous. So please, as hard as I know it is, don't give up on them. If you're friends with someone with mental health issues, don't give up on them. You know, don't keep asking how you feeling today, how you feeling today, because you'll get the automatic response, oh, I'm doing okay. Yeah, I'm struggling through. I'm not too bad today. You'll never know. They'll never tell you until they overcome that barrier themselves and commit to themselves that they've got an issue and it's okay to talk about it. So please don't give up. Be there for them, because they need you more than you realise. Okay, so I think that kind of ends this session. Again, I hope it gives you a little bit of insight. And if you're suffering from mental health issues, I hope it's if anything that you take away from this video, you're not suffering alone. There are loads of us out there. You're not the only one. And however you feel you're going to get over it, the treatment that you decide to go for, whatever works for you, try and stick with it. And as I say, if you're living with someone or know someone who's suffering from mental health, be that person that supports them, no matter how tough it is. Stay with them. And hopefully, together, you'll get through it. So thanks again for watching. Thank you for support. If you've got any comments, please drop them down below. And all being well, I'll see you in the next video. Take care of yourself, guys.